my gosh, karate chopping is insane. I was a hockey kid. When my friends were cutting up boards with their hands, I was blown away as a kid.
This is Sportscentre.
Hey, I'm Julia Teixeira filling in for Marissa Roberto, and it's a light night on the ice. But there are storylines aplenty in the NHL. So let's go around the league and take a look at how some of the biggest names moved at the deadline are fitting in on their new teams. Let's start with Carolina, who on deadline day were viewed as the big winners. They were in great shape this season already before they acquired the name at the top of everyone's trade deadline list. Jake Guentzel and Evgeny Kuznetsov have elevated this team to yet another level. They're 4 points back of the Rangers for first in the Metro, and they've won 8 of their last 10. Guentzel scored his first goal in Carolina yesterday, and he's got 5 points in 4 games with his new team, while Kuznetsov is riding a 3-game point streak with 2 goals. Both players are, of course, incredibly talented, but this Kuzi resurgence is a great sight for Carolina. And when you take a look at their top 6, it is right up there with one of the best in hockey. Carolina scares me going into the playoffs. They were always kind of a scary team, but injuries always seem to hurt them in the playoffs, and they were never able to score. Doesn't seem like that's going to be a problem this year. Let's move to the Peg now, where the Jets are first in the Central. Well, for the moment, because we got 3 teams tied with 91 points. The 2 big additions that they made were Sean Monahan and Tyler Toffoli. And they've been home runs so far, to say the very least. Monahan's got 8 goals and 13 points in the 19 games since joining the Jets. Toffoli, meanwhile, has lit the lamp 4 times in 4 games. And while he won't stay at a goal per game forever, he's immediately fit in with his new line mates, giving Winnipeg one of the deepest forward groups in the league. Sticking in the Central, the Avs loaded up at the deadline, and they're getting some great return as well. The point totals for these players isn't crazy, but the Avs are 4-0 since they all joined the team, and it looks like they're all fitting perfectly into Colorado's system. They're also adding yet another big name in Nikolai Kovalenko, who has officially arrived in Denver. The 24-year-old 6th-round pick in 2018 has been playing in the KHL since 2017 and had another productive season with 35 points in 42 games. And all of that's without even mentioning Vegas. The West this year, so many teams went all in that it almost feels pointless. Like, aren't the Western Conference teams just going to beat the hell out of one another by the time they get to the Stanley Cup final? Sure, March may have started 18 days ago, but with Selection Sunday happening yesterday and the NCAA tournament just days away, it is now officially March. So let's break down the most intriguing players to watch in both the men's and women's brackets. Starting with the likely 2-time Naismith winner, as College Player of the Year, Zach Edey of Purdue, who's also Canadian. Let's start with the good. The 7'4", 300-pounder has been the best player in college basketball the last couple years. He's averaging a ridiculous 24.4 points per game, 11.7 boards, but shoots 61.9% from the field. That is ridiculous! But now for the bad. Edey and Purdue have been eliminated from the tournament by double-digit seeds the last 3 years, including last year's massive upset to Fairleigh Dickinson, just the 2nd time in history that a 1 seed has ever lost to a 16 seed. They're a 1 seed once again, this time in the Midwest region. And we'll get the winner of Grambling and Montana State, who play in the first 4. And you could watch the men's NCAA tournament on TSN. It all starts Thursday at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. On the women's side, the player to watch is fairly obvious. And it's Caitlin Clark. She's been the biggest story in college basketball on both the men's and women's side this season. And that resume just speaks for itself. She's the NCAA's all-time leading scorer, and no one in college ball has hit more threes than her. But one thing missing from her resume is that NCAA championship, which seems like it's gonna be harder than ever to get this year. Iowa is the 1 seed in the Albany 2 regional bracket, but that bracket is absolutely loaded, as there are 8 top 25 teams in it, the most out of any region. And you can watch the women's NCAA tournament on TSN. It all starts Friday on TSN at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. As we said last segment, we are officially entering March Madness. So it's time to go over the top with brackets. And while this show used to go a little crazy when it came to brackets in our early days, remember World Cup of Food? You remember the Old Spice hot guy bracket? Yeah, I didn't think so. Well, we are officially back because we're trying to figure out what the best TV show on Crave is. And we got some heavy hitters starting in round 1. As our top seed, The Sopranos, takes on Crave original Letterkenny. Next up, we got one of the best sports shows in history, Friday Night Lights.
Clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose.
Tim Riggins, I Still Like You. And they're taking on a very underrated comedic classic in Parks and Rec. Who you got? Vote now. Next up, we got a 5 seed that is pretty good.
Pretty good.
As Curb Your Enthusiasm takes on Band of Brothers. Vote now. Next up to a more modern HBO classic, as we've got number 4, Succession, taking on number 13, Barry. This one feels like Succession should take this one very easily. After that, very polarizing choice at number 6, Friends. I've never watched it, don't come for me. Taking on a cult classic, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, which I've also never seen. Next up, the show that was my only friend in first year university, The Office, number 3. And they're taking on another classic sports show in Eastbound and Down. The Office is gonna win, right? Come on. Next, a clash of 2 HBO giants as Game of Thrones takes on Sex and the City. No, those are not the same shows. And our final matchup, a heavy tourney favorite in The Wire, taking on number 15, but underrated show in a lot of people's opinions, The White Lotus. Now, just a heads up, if you're watching us on a platform that isn't Instagram stories and want to vote, go to TSN's Instagram stories and get your vote in. Okay, so that's round 1. We'll be updating this thing all week long. Make sure you're voting for our champion. It's gonna be crowned Friday. What did I just watch? It's time now for my favorite segment and yours, Why We Love Sports Today.
Why we love sports today.
And this is the bizarre sport of rug ball. And of course, it comes from Russia. From what we could read up on it, and from watching, it's basically basketball with German suplexes. But why are they ripping their shirts off before the suplex? The Russian version of basketball where you can suplex your opponent. Okay. So why would you just not do this at any point during the game? I'm not gonna ask, really. I appreciate watching this over and over again. And why do you have to take your tarp off and over to perform the suplex? I'd imagine that's probably part of the rules, but very confusing. I like this though. This seems like something that would get a lot of steam out of you if you played pickup on Sundays or something like that. And we finished with this bizarre halftime show situation from a Mexican soccer game. Okay. Oh, that's fun. My new obsession is participating in intermission games. Did you guys see me being a hamburger last week? Oh, wait, that was exactly like my wipeout fall at the Bar Down Summer Games.
Here we go. Oh!
I could tell that it was the best fall because when I lifted my head above the water, everyone was silent. I think expecting me to be hurt. I'd like to see the tape.
Well done, Julia. Well done, everyone.
I am pitching myself to participate in every sports team's intermission. Mexico, soccer, call me up. I will win. That's all from me today. Marissa will be back tomorrow. Have a good one.